Prabhupada ki jai ho. Hare Krishna. Today I am going to do Keno Hare Krishna Nam by Bhakti Vinoda Thakur. Bhakti Vinoda Thakur ki jai ho. Keno Hare Krishna Nam Hari Bole Mano Prana Kandena. Keno Hare Krishna Nam Hari Bole Mano Prana Kandena. पाखी न जानी कौन अपराधे, पाखी न जानी कौन अपराधे, मुखे हरे कृष्ण नाम बोलो ना, हरे कृष्ण नाम बोलो ना. केनो हरे कृष्ण नाम हरि बोले मनु प्राण कांदेना. केनो हरे कृष्ण नाम हरि बोले मनु प्राण कांदेना. बन रे पाखी रे धरे रखलाम हृदय मंदिरे, बनेर पाखी रे धरे रखलाम हृदय मंदिरे, मधुमखाए हरि नाम. पाखी रे शिखाइले शिखे, पाखी रे शिखाइले शिखे. केनो हरे कृष्ण नाम हरि बोले मनु प्राण कांदेना. पाखी सकल नाम बोलते पारो, पाखी सकल नाम बोलते पारो. केनो हरे कृष्ण नाम बोलो ना, हरे कृष्ण नाम बोलो ना. केनो हरे कृष्ण नाम हरि बोले मनु प्राण कांदेना. केनो हरे कृष्ण नाम हरि बोले मनु प्राण कांदेना. चलो पाखी रूपे देशे जाए, जे देशे ते मने मानुष. आशा जाओ या नाई, आशा जाओ या नाई. केनो हरे कृष्ण नाम हरि बोले मनु प्राण कांदेना. केनो हरे कृष्ण नाम हरि बोले मनु प्राण कांदेना. पाखी रे तोर मरण काले ते, चार बिवासेर डोलाते. ओरे चार जने ते कांधे कोरे, लोई जाबे स्मशान घाटे ते, लई जाबे स्मशान घाटे ते. केनो हरे कृष्ण नाम हरि बोले मनु प्राण कांदेना. केनो हरे कृष्ण नाम हरि बोले मनु प्राण कांदेना. ओरे ओ तोर मुखे अगुन जीवे तुले, ओरे ओ तोर मुखे अगुन जीवे तुले. की करो बीताई बोलो ना, की करो बीताई बोलो ना. केनो हरे कृष्ण नाम हरि बोले मनु प्राण कांदेना. केनो हरे कृष्ण नाम हरि बोले मनु प्राण कांदेना. भक्ति विनोद ठाकुर की जय हो. Translation. Oh, why does my heart not weep from chanting the holy name Hare Krishna? The bird of my heart does not know what past sinful activities it has committed to cause this inability to chant Hare Krishna properly. O forest bird, I have kept something for you very carefully within the cottage of my heart, the holy name of Hari, which is overflowing with pure sweet honey. O bird, you could learn enchanting of this name if you were taught. A bird is easily able to speak all names. Why then does this bird of my heart refuse to chant Hare Krishna? Oh, why does my heart not weep from chanting the holy name Hare Krishna? Oh, bird, come, let's go to the spiritual world, the land of true and everlasting beauty. It is the place where the imaginary man of my mind will never again come and go on the revolving cycle of birth and death. O bird, at the time of death, your body will simply be placed upon a funeral stretcher, lifted on the shoulder of four persons, and carried to the cremation ground. Alas, the cremation fire will enter your mouth and then totally consume your tongue. There will be nothing you can do to save yourself. For at that time, it is too late. You will be unable to speak anymore. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Chant and be happy. Thank you, Prabhuji, for so wonderful seva. Hari Bol. Charu Prabhuji, you are on mute, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Padadada Sivasadi Gaur Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare Om Gyan Tinandassa Gyananjana Salakaya Chakshunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namah Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kada Mahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamsha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sagara Raghunathan Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadavaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Pada Sagara Lalita Shri Vishakha Vitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Deenabandhu Jagatpate Gopesh Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastute Tapta Kanchan Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhyevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadha Srivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Padayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namine Gauratishe Namaha. O most beneficent incarnation, you are Krishna himself, appearing as Shri Krishna Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. You have assumed the golden complexion of Srimati Radharani and you are widely distributing pure love of Krishna. We offer respectful obeisances unto you. Krishna Varnam Trisha Krishnam Sangapangostra Parshadam Yagnai Sankirtana Prayer yajanti sumedasa. In the age of Kali, intelligent persons perform congregational chanting to worship the Godhead who constantly sing the names of Krishna. Although his complexion is not blackish, he is Krishna himself. He is accompanied by his associate servants, weapons, and confidential companions. नानाशास्त्रविचारणैकनिपुणौ षड्धर्मसंस्थापकौ लोकानामहितकारिणौ त्रिभुवने मान्यौ शरण्याकरौ राधाकृष्ण पदारविन्द भजना आनन्देन मत्तालिकौ वन्दे रूप सनातन रघुयुगौ श्रीजीव गोपालकौ. Translation: I offer my respectful obeisances unto the six Goswamis of Vrindavan, namely Sri Rupa Goswami, Sri Sanatana Goswami, Sri Go- Raghunath Bhatta Goswami, Sri Raghunath Das Goswami, Sri Jiva Goswami, and Sri Gopal Bhatta Goswami, who are very expert in studying the revealed scriptures with the aim of establishing eternal religious principles for the benefit of all human beings. Thus, they are honored all over the three worlds and they are worth taking shelter of because they are absorbed in the mood of the gopis and are engaged in the transcendental loving service of Shri Shri Radha and Krishna. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Narom Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Udirayat Nashtaprayeshva Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtaki. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Jai Shri Prabhupada. Jai Shri Bhagavad. So we are continuing. Yesterday we did lesson 13 and now we'll be doing lesson 14. So let's hear the recap of lesson 13. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Dandavat Pranam Prabhuji, Hare Bol. Yes, we are going through Sri Jaiva Dharma, and yesterday we went through lesson 13, chapter 8 of Sri Jaiva Dharma. Lesson 13, chapter 8 is about Nitya Dharma and material life. And here in this lesson 13, we saw the questions asked by Nityananda and which are answered by Haridas Babaji. Here we can see that in the lecture by His Grace Charuchandra Prabhuji, so he dealt with questions from question 3 to question 34 almost. Here Nityananda has taken prematurely a sannyas for the sake of respect and honor. So we know that as per Bhagavad Gita, yes, taking sannyas prematurely is not allowed because one should not give up the karma till there is antakaran shuddhi. So it is being called as mithyachar if one goes for sannyasa. So as per these questions asked, the first question, that is question 3, which has been asked by Nityananda to Haridas Babaji. Yes, there are 3 types of devotees. One is neophyte, intermediate, and advanced devotee. So he's asking where does he stand? So as we know, Nityananda had taken sannyas for the sake of fame and on the untimely death of his wife. We can see the few things with Nityananda, that he wears garments, he is in saffron, he is having good association, he chants holy name, he observes Ekadashi, he reads every day Chaitanya Mangal, he waters Tulsi, he do not follow any opulent things, he do not gossips, and he becomes ecstatic on singing and dancing, but still desires fame, and he feels fallen. And so, with such a question, Babaji embraces him with great love and compassion and continues and cautioned him to be vigilant so as to curb such things. So, as per question 4, he asks, what are the primary and secondary features of a neophyte devotee in devotional service? The primary qualities, features, they are faith and second, deity worship. In case of secondary, the neophyte feels the secondary features, that is hearing, chanting, remembering, etc. As per question 5, so he's asking why these are the secondary features. So because his conditioned soul, upon liberation, he will understand. So faith makes one eligible in devotional service. As per question 7, when such neophyte can attain true devotion. So when one becomes free from jnana and karma, then one can attain on this true devotion, and will and one will be desiring sadhu sangha. As per question 8, when one can attain sambandha jnana to engage in pure devotional service. So when one is no more contaminated by Mayavadi philosophy. So as we know, it is being said, Mayavadi bhasha sunile hoye sarvanash. So one should not get contaminated with such Mayavadi philosophies. And question 9 was, how many days does that take? So it is, yes, the pious deeds, the Agyan Sukruti will reveal one on this particular devotional path. As per question 10, what is the first result this past pious deeds bring? So it is sadhu sangha that will realize one about the result of this pious deeds. And when faith is stabilized, yes, we know Shravanam Kirtanam, one will get one will follow the hearing melodious about Lord. Nashta Prayeshu Bhadreshu, Prabhuji also said. Then Sadhu Sangha and deity worship is equivalent to serving devotees. His faith in Lord and his devotees is necessary in pure devotional service. So question 14, it was lengthy, so which explains how to progress on spiritual path, which are the stages. So the first one, yes, it is one, have the faith in Lord and his devotees, but still desires are there. Second, so continues with deity worship. Third, he honors devotees as well as visitors, whosoever are coming in the temple. He notices the senior Vaishnavas. He attentively hears discussion about the scriptures. He develops respect about advanced devotees. His heart gets purified. He becomes learned in the devotional theories. Then he understands Sambandha Jnana, and Sambandha Gyan is to be the servant of the servant of the servant of the Lord. That is to serve Lord. Now becomes intermediate devotee. Spontaneously seeks engagement in sadhu sangha. He understands the distinct difference between initiated devotee and ordinary guests who come in the temple. So then question 15 was, why very few get advanced on the spiritual path? Because of asatsanga, jnana and karma become more prominent. So as asatsanga is strong, but when sadhusanga becomes predominant over asatsanga, that means asatsanga should get reduced and sadhusanga should be prominent. So what are sins and virtues of neophyte? Sins and defects are minimized as one progresses on this devotional path, and desires to please Supreme Personality of Godhead increases. Then about qualities of Madhyama devotees, intermediate devotees. So there will be unalloyed devotion, friendship with devotees, mercy with innocent, and avoids non-devotees. The activities of Madhyamadikari, so Sambandha Jnana, Abhideya, and Prayojan. Then secondary qualities of these intermediate devotees, that one obeys Krishna and serves him and saves the example. Then does he commit or the sins or offenses? Yes, initially will be committing, but Yukta Vairagya will develop gradually. So Jnana and Karma desires are there. Yes, they will be there in the beginning, but will be uprooted at the end. Question 23 was, are there wishes to live in this material world? Not for liberation or anything else, but only to serve in pure devotional service. Then why not wish for death? They align their desires as per the desire of the Lord. So there would not be any independent desire of such devotees. Then about Uttama Adhikari, which are these qualities, secondary qualities, like one can be Grihastha or Sannyasi, Uttama Adhikari. So as Prabhuji said about Ramanand Rai and etc. So there are four qualities which are explained about this Uttama Adhikari: spiritual reality, one identifies properly our spiritual identity, then humility, so forgiveness, and one will be merciful. So Trunadapi Sunichena. So one would be so humble. So as per Shikshashtakam. So one would honor the others and will distinguish between um, senior devotees and etc. and will follow Vaishnava Dharma. So as per question 34, so etc. one should preach in every possible way the devotee. So one should pray that Lord help me, forgive me, take control of my senses, and do surrender with the will of Krishna so as to counter the challenges in this material life. Yes, we saw as per this lesson 13, now Prabhuji is great Charuchandra Prabhuji. We will now go for lesson 14, that is Nityananda, Nitya Dharma, the material science and civil life. Thank you, Hare Krishna.
So wonderful, Jastimati. My head is off really, and these lessons are extremely difficult to prepare, extremely difficult. And to prepare PowerPoint is still more challenging, it's so much descriptive to even to grasp the gist of the chapter. It's no ordinary task. So really, my admiration for Nitya Sakhi Mataji is really, I have no qualification. She's really wonderful. So everyone, please accept my humble obeisances. All glory to Srila Prabhupada. So today these PowerPoints I did in just few hours. So please pardon me if it is not up to the standard. Okay. Um, and even the last portion is not included because that was just scriptural references. So let me share my screen. Okay. So everybody can see the screen.
Yes, Prabhuji.
Okay. So as you can see, and this is our schedule of classes and the topics. So today we'll be doing, as shown in this yellow box, lesson 14, and that is about the eternal religion, Nitya Dharma, and how it squares against the material science, modern science. It's called Prakritik Vijnana, Sanskrit. So Prakrit means something that is material level. So material science and this modern civilization, that is how it's squared off against this Nitya Dharma that we have been talking about. Okay. So these are the four themes that I came through. Four themes. So these are pages 145 to 161. So the eternal religion and this material or modern science and civilization. So first, we will see this Kalidas Lahiri Mahasray. Now we are all familiar how now with his exemplary Vaishnav character and how his very sincere devotional service really attracted the mind of Paramhamsa Premadas Babaji. So we'll see his exemplary qualities. And then Babaji decided he is best qualified, now is ready to receive a Vaishnava spiritual name. So he became, instead of Lahiri Mahashaya, now he became Advaita Das. Okay. And then, so this is going to be a debate. So his opponent is a Shakta devotee. Shakta means Shakti. And so there are three, the major Hindu religion, there are three branches are there. One is Vaishnava, Vishnu worshippers, Lord Vishnu worshippers. Other is Shaivites. The third is this Shakti out worshippers. That is mean the feminine uh, uh, representation of the Supreme Lord. So that is what it is. Okay. So this particular devotee, Digambar Chattopadhyay, is a very, very strict, in fact, to the point of fanatic supporter of Mata, that is Durga. And there are several names he utters that. They're all same. Okay. In fact, I had personal experience of such a Shakti Upasaka, and he used to constantly argue with me, although he is a very good friend of mine, but he's a very strong and uh, for Shakti Upasaka, their scripture is Devi Bhagavata. It's a version of Shrimad Bhagavatam, but here the supremacy is Devi, okay, Durga. In fact, Lord Shiva, Lord Brahma, Lord Vishnu, they are all, according to them, they are all subservient to Devi. So this is what my friend used to argue with me all the time, Devi Bhagavat, okay. So this particular person, Digambar Chattopadhyay, we will see a little bit introduction. Who he is? He is a childhood friend of Lahiri Mahashay. So that is the second theme. So and that will go on throughout the book now. There are different characters we are going to be introduced, and there'll be a discussion, debate, and so on like that. Okay. The third theme, now we are going to get the heart of the matter. Okay. So here, Digambar Chattopadhyay was so fanatic, even he doesn't want to hear the name Vaishnava. When he hears the name Vaishnava, he will block his both ears with his hands. Was that opponent of Vaishnavism? Okay? So when he learned that his childhood friend Kalidas Lahiri Mahashay, who was actually previously, as we all know, he was the supporter of this Brahman supremacy, born Brahman supremacy, or the caste Brahmana. But how he became converted, in fact, right childhood, he had an inclination toward Vaishnavism. And then that became reality when he went to Godruma and happened to meet this incredible Vaishnavas, Babajis, you know. So when this particular Shakti Upasaka, Digambar Chattopadhyay, so now we'll refer to as Digambara. Okay. So this Digambara, when he found out that his childhood friend got brainwashed, according to him, and he became a Vaishnava, to the point he completely renounced and instead of Shantipur, his residence, now he set up a residence in this Godruma. Okay. So now he wanted to save, quote unquote, save his friend and bring back. Okay. So that is what he says here. Digambara rushes to Navadvipa in a boat to rescue, I put quote unquote form, okay, because that is not a reality. To rescue his unfortunate old friend that he refers to him as Kalidas, who has now become a Vaishnava. So that's the third theme. And now the fourth theme, that is the main topic of this chapter, the debate between Digambara and this Lahiri Maharshi, who has now become Advaita Das. Okay. And this philosophical debate is so lengthy. I divide into three parts actually. So that is what you are going to see, that in three parts. And it's very, very difficult to prepare the PowerPoints. Okay. Obviously, it is so descriptive. I couldn't include whole thing, So I had to really paraphrase some of the questions for the sake of clarity, as I normally do throughout all these lessons. Extremely difficult, you know. Um, and even then, the last portion, when um, um, Advaita Das quotes all scriptural references, I couldn't include that because that's too lengthy, and I wouldn't be able to give you this lesson, this class, in the allotted time. So time constraint, So I avoided the scriptural references. So with that qualification, let's dive into it because we have limited time, and I have to cover a lot of slides. Okay? So we will go, as I just told you about these themes, four themes. So the first theme, that is about how this Lahiri Mahashaya, with exemplary Vaishnava character, attracted the mind of Paramhamsa Premadas Babaji, and who initiated him then formally as Advaita Dasa. So here there are 5 points that I came up. And again, it's an extraction of a lot of descriptive material. So living among the Vaishnavas in Godruma for almost 3 to 4 years now, that he spent full time living there in the cottage there, Lahiri Mahasaya became a first class Vaishnava. Okay? Always chanted the holy name and wore simple clothing. His pride of caste pravana now completely dissipated, although he still wore a sacred thread around his neck. That was the only thing he maintained. A second point that I saw, again, the highlights I'm giving you, okay? Whenever he saw a Vaishnava, immediately and very humbly, he would offer his Dandavat pranams, obeisances, and always insist taking the dust of such elevated Vaishnavas, and he would honor on his head, and he would always accept the remnants of such great advanced Vaishnavas. So when we offer bhoga, the remnant that you offer to Krishna, the remnant that become prasadam, right? But that prasadam first honored by a senior Vaishnava, then become Mahaprasadam. So you have to remember that. So that Mahaprasadam is still more potent than prasadam because Krishna transmits his mercy through his very, very confidential devotees, such senior devotees. So Lahiri Mahashaya, now he understood very, very clearly, and he would honor that every day. So fourth point, following the footsteps of the Vaishnavas, Babajis of this Godruma, his two main Babajis that he took Shiksha, and now he's taking Diksha from Paramahamsa Prabhudas Babaji, and his Shiksha Guru is, of course, Vaishnav Das Babaji. He understood that renunciation was needed just within the heart, not the external paraphernalia, external features like this saffron clothing and all that kind of danda and everything. That is not that important relatively. What is important in your heart must be totally renounced, So that is what he adopted, learned from these advanced Babajis. So external things, if you pay too much attention, it's called niyamagraha. I was telling you, I don't wear this white dress that I'm supposed to wear. Of course, when there's a formal presentation, in a temple, then there is a dress code that we must honor. But I am preaching from my home, so I'm wearing this kind of shirts, although relatively simple. So there is in this nectar of instruction, Srila Rupa Goswami says, one component is niyamagra, just for the sake of rules. And if you keep on arguing about that and you forget the main point, then that is not desirable. Prabhupada was criticized by his fellow God brothers when he established Krishna conscious movement in the West. He had to also transgress for a higher purpose, for spreading Krishna consciousness. Okay, so that is a typical example of niyam agraha. You don't insist upon rules, forgetting their higher purpose. Okay, so the fifth point, recognizing Larry Mahashaya's exemplary Vaishnava progression. Um, um, Even Premadas Babaji began to admire that your renunciation is really so exemplary. Even I take lessons from you. So if you don't mind, I would like to give you a Vaishnava name to complete the process. So, of course, Lahiri Maharshi said, "You are my guru, my spiritual master. Whatever you say, that will be done." So now, from that day onwards, he became Advaita Dasa. And the cottage that in which he rendered devotional service, that become Advaita Kutira. Kutira means jopdi, hut, very simple living. Okay, so that become Advaita Kutira, Sanskrit name for hut, made of leaves and things like that. Okay, so this is theme one. Now theme two. Again, I'm paraphrasing. A lot of pages. I'm summarizing this single slide in 2 points. Here, a brief introduction of this Digambar Chattopadhyay. Okay, as I told you, he is a great a worshipper of Mother Durga. Different names now here referred to as Mahavidya, Nishtarini, and so Mother Nishtarini, and so on like that. Very strict follower. Uh, um, and he was serving in the Mohammedan rulers, Muslim rulers. He was very well versed with that, as Lahiri Mahasaya himself was that. Okay, and he was very proficient in Persian and Arabic, and he was so well learned, very highly intelligent. Okay, but because of his Devi Upasaka, his scripture that he studied, that was tantras, typical tantras. Okay, and in fact he compiled called Tantra Sangraha, the major points of tantra he himself prepared after careful study. Okay, and he used to debate with many great scholars and defeat them. He was that highly proficient and highly intelligent and very well known in Delhi and everywhere, Lahore and so on places. Okay. So he was, and I told you he was so fanatic, he wouldn't want to hear even the name Vaishnava. And as soon as somebody utters the name Vaishnava, he would close his ears, okay, both ears, with his hands. But when he learned his close friend, childhood friends, Kalidas Lahiri Mahasaya, gave up everything and he became a Vaishnava sannyasi. Vaishnava, they don't call themselves sannyasi, as I told you before. Vaishnava Babaji, and moved over to Godruma and chanting all the time the holy names. So he wanted to rescue, okay, his childhood friend. So immediately he set out to leave in a boat, 6 hour boat ride from the place. So he crossed Ganga, where this Babaji used to live. So that is a short, brief introduction who he is and how he is going to tangle with Lahiri Mahasaya. Okay, so now this is the third theme. Digambar rushes to Navadvipa in a boat to rescue, quote unquote, rescue his unfortunate old friend Kalidas that he used to refer to him. Lahiri Mahasaya later on he became, and now he's become a Vaishnava, and he accepted the name, Vaishnava name, Advaita Dasa. So what I'm going to do again, when this is a complex slide, I zoom it in two parts. Okay, so we'll see. So there are 6 points. So first 3 points. Okay, so proudly grasping his Tantra Sangraha that he had written, compiled, and that was his proud possession, his proud accomplishment. So he took with him, and in a boat ride, it took 6 hours to reach Godruma. Okay, and he then sent, as soon as he reached there, and he stayed with the merchant there, and he sent a confidential messenger, intelligent messenger, to send a message to Kalidas, Lahiri Mahasaya, Advaita Das, that he's there and he's very, very eager to meet him. Okay? Um, uh, and when the messenger reached there, at that particular time, Advaita Das was deeply in his daily chanting of the holy name. Okay? When he was informed of this, whether does he remember? Of course, how would I not remember? He was my childhood friend. So immediately he said, please send him here immediately. Why does he not come to my cottage himself directly? So messenger transmitted that message to Digambar, and now Digambar is coming there. Okay, seeing his old friend, his heart became elated. Digambar's heart became elated to see Kalidas, um, uh, and he sang the verse from what he had written, and that verse is, "O Mother Kali, uh, Durga, who in the 3 worlds knows all about your transcendental pastime." And that's where you see that that's the supremacy of the Devi over Lord Brahma, Vishnu, Shiva. Um, sometimes a man, sometimes a woman that you appear, and sometimes a ferocious warrior. As you all know, Kali, she killed demons and Nishumba and so on like that. You became Brahma and created the world. Then you expanded as Lord Shiva to annihilate the world. And then you became all-pervading Lord Vishnu. Uh, so all 3, they came from Devi. This is what the Devi Upasaka believes. Shaivites think the Lord Shiva is the supreme. All others came from him. But the Vaishnavas, they know the supremacy of Lord Shri Krishna, and from whose expansion is Lord Vishnu for the purpose of material manifestation. And those Puranas talk about Lord Krishna being the supreme, Lord Vishnu being the supreme. They are in the mode of goodness. There are 18 Mahapuranas, so divide equally. 6 of them are in the mode of goodness, 6 of them in the mode of passion. That's where they call Lord Brahma is the one, and then last 6 is this Lord Shaivites. They in the mode of ignorance. So people gradually come to that. So people who are in that lower modes, so to preach them in from that platform, Srila Vyasadeva had compiled those Puranas like that. Okay? But only Sattva Guna, Sattvam Sanjayate Jnanam. The transcendental knowledge comes only when you come to pure mode of goodness. And Sattvam Sanjayate Yat Brahmadarshanam. Self-realization comes only when you are in the mode of goodness. So Advaita Das, seeing him, warmly welcomes him, but immediately This just is barely meeting him, okay? Immediately Digambar blurted out, okay? Blurted out, they're my words, Look at the way how he addresses him. Uh, you have become a bull-headed fool, useless in this world and in the next world. Look at yourself. Tell me, how has this happened to you? Who you were, and now what has become of you? You really shame all of us. Realizing that this is a bad. Immediately, internally, Advaita knew that this person is a bad company, a satasanga. I don't want to associate with that. But externally, he received him, began to wonder how he could escape this personality. Okay, so the two begin to recall how. Again, I'm summarizing quite a few earlier things that they're reminiscing. Okay, how even in their childhood they used to play games underneath a tamarind tree, and this particular Lahari Mahashaya, now Advaita Das, even though at that time he was a typical proponent of caste Brahmana, okay, but that time even internally he was inclined toward Vaishnava because the tamarind tree was actually right underneath that area. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's favorite place was there. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mercy was transmitted to him right even at that point, and it will bring its color later on. So Digambar commented that you were really, even at that point, you were soft on Vaishnavism, and this is like a trapping. I told you, I warned you at that time, don't be too attached to this tamarind tree. And that's where Chaitanya Mahaprabhu used to spend time there, his pastimes, and you'll be trapped into becoming a Vaishnava later on, And look how I turned out right. So, of course, he said, if that's my trapping, then I'm still very happy. That I said, I'm happy if it was a trap. But what about you? Aren't you being trapped here, knowing that he is a Devi Upasaka, and certainly he did that to him also. Okay, let's move on. So now Digambara actually, so here that's what I just summarized already just now. Advaita said he was happy in that trap, but what about Digambara who thought otherwise? Unlike being a Vaishnava, which is the beginning of happiness, but in the end, so Digambara criticized that whatever you're saying, Vaishnavism, in the beginning it looks like good, but ultimately it's a hoax. It's baloney, in a rough language. And he's not only happy in this, but even in the next life, being a Devi Upasaka. My Devi makes, because she is the uh, 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 director of material world. That's the truth. As the external see of the Supreme Lord, the Lord had given her a power to really regulate the material universe that the Lord Himself created. That through the agency of His external potency. That's Paramatma's power. Okay, so He's right in that aspect of it. So He's saying, and Devi gives me all the material comforts, not only in this life, that is guaranteed in my next life too. Even if I die, I'll given a higher birth, in the higher planetary system. And that is Devi Upasakas are like that. Because Maya is actually a devotee of the Lord, but she screens people who are truly devotee of the Supreme Lord. So his Devi Upasaka don't understand that, And one of my friend was like that. Because they want all material comfort, material happiness, and they're very glad, very, very happy to be a devotee of Durga or Kali, to opting to become Vaishnava. However, he sees Advaita will be perpetually be suffering. He says to you that I can see that you are not that great happy, but you will be suffering a lot more. Externally, you look very happy, and devotees, apparently to the onlookers, they think that they are suffering because of their very simple life, you know, and lot of regulating their what they eat and so on like that. Whereas Devi Upasaka used to eat um, uh, fish, meat, and so on like that. In fact, they sacrifice animals on the Kali temple there in Calcutta. As I understand, is still being done today. I'm not sure, but I heard about it. They used to sacrifice goats there in Kali temple. And, um, Sharat Prabhuji later correct me if I'm wrong. Point 5. On the other hand, as a devotee of Durga, and as I told you, she refers to many different names as goddess Mahavidya or Mother Nishtarini. Digambar will have a happiness in this and next life, being a Devi Upasaka. And yes, Durga makes their devotees very happy materially, but they are not intelligent enough to understand. Materially happy means you are going to be anchored here on the ground of material world. Repeatedly, you have to take birth in material world. You don't get liberated. Their intelligence doesn't make them understand. So he's saying, why does someone become a Vaishnava? I don't understand. Why you become a Vaishnava? That's beyond me. And look, we enjoy eating fish. There are no regulations what we eat. We eat fish, we eat meat, and so on like that. Actually, in Bengal, as I understand, in the countryside, each house in the back of this house, each of them have a small pond where they cultivate fish. So even Brahmana are allowed to eat fish. Mas khabe, bhat khabe, like that. Uh, that is what I hear even today. The Brahmanas are allowed to eat fish and all these things. So we enjoy all good things in modern science provides. You have renounced all these things stupidly, according to him. And in the end, for you, there will be no escape. You will die. And you will miss all the comforts, you don't know what you're missing. So inside, of course, Advaita knew this guy's shallowness. So this conversation led to a philosophical debate. That is the main topic of this chapter. Between the two that contrast the goal of spiritual life, spiritual culture, with those of material advancement, so-called modern civilization. So that sets the ground. That sets the stage. Now we hear the fierce debate between the two. And that I told you we'll do in 3 parts. Here, this is the first part. Again, this is a complex slide. So I'm breaking down into 2 parts here. So again, now I stop giving question numbers because there's so many. So I'm going to give few in this part 1, 2, but then after I give it, So Advaita Das first speaks, ask questions, and then will answer from his rudimentary knowledge, perverted knowledge. Then later Digambara asks question, and Advaita Das will answer that. Okay. So here Advaita Das is first taking a shot. If mother, so he's asking, will there be no escape for me then, according to you? Because he criticized him, right? That being a Vaishnava, you are missing good things in life, and you are controlling yourself so much, and so you are happy. I can see right here, but even much more unhappiness in the next life you will have. So he's saying, according to you, uh, uh, there is no escape for me then. Is that correct? So Digambar is answering. If Mother Nishtarini becomes averse, because you are not her devotee, then even what to speak of you, even Brahma, Shiva, Vishnu, they all don't escape what to speak of you. If my Devi gets angry, she's a primordial power. She gives birth to and protect all these three. Brahma, Vishnu, Mahesh, all three came from my Mother Nishtarini, Mother Durga, Mother Mahavidya, and so on like that. And in a way, it is true. Okay, but one has to understand because those with the mode of uh, ignorance like that, things like that. If you worship those who are materially oriented, you know, they think like that. If you worship, because Lord Vishnu, he created and he assigned Lord Shiva to be a destroyer, but to maintenance of the material world, Lord gave the power, empowerment to Devi. Okay, and her husband, Lord Shiva, is the one who is going to destroy the world, And this is a cyclic nature, creation, maintenance, dissolution. Cycle keep continuing from time immemorial. And so that's as for next question. If Mother Nishtarini, conscious or unconscious matter, look at Peter, how he's trapping him. He is self-contradicting. This guy is self-contradicting himself. So she is Maya. Yes, obviously, right? So she is consciousness personified. The answer is it is by her wish that the spirit was created. So Advaita, that's the third question. What is spirit and what is matter according to you? So consciousness, conscious spirit. Spirit is conscious, and matter is unconscious. No question about it. That's true. Are like the two halves of a chickpea. The chana is like that. So they are both together all the time. Okay? When consciousness and unconscious join and become one, then it is Brahma. That's their understanding. So the next question, is your mother female or male? Of the two halves, which is the mother and which is the father? Who are you? You are spirit. Are you spirit or matter? So, so several questions here. So now Digambar is asking, replying. Sometimes she's male, sometimes she's female. And as you know, Lord Shiva and Durga, they are both combined, Ardhanarishwar, right? That context is saying that matter is mother and spirit is father. When I'm bound by ropes of illusion, I'm in the individual soul. I become an individual soul. When these ropes are untied, I become liberated, and I become Sadashiv. And we all know Sadashiv. Actually, the portion of the Supreme, whose expansion is Lord Shiva. Sadashiv lives in spiritual world, and the material world where this Lord Shiva's abode is located, and this Kailash is Lord Shiva actually. So for enter there's a Devi Dham, Mahesh Dham. Okay, we will get into that detail. So in that context, it's replying all the answers. Okay. So I am spirit, and mother is matter. So now, first is the mother is like he's contradicting himself right here. Say I am spirit, but mother is matter, and matter is obviously inert matter. It cannot be conscious. But previously said mother is conscious, matter is unconscious. But now he's reversing himself. When I'm bound by illusion, she's my mother. When I'm free of illusion, then she's my wife. Because he did become himself becomes Sadashiv. So Lord Sadashiv, of course, is by himself. Lord Shiva is expansion. He's right. He's Durga. Yeah, right. So Advaita is continuing, asking, uh, where did you get from the bottom up we are going? Where did you get this truth? Inside, of course, he's thinking what is ridiculous things he's talking about, but he outwardly is still respecting, So if he's obviously he's asking, where did you learn truth and quote unquote, So he says that I am not like you, the Vaishnava. I am associated with many sannyasis and brahmacharis, tantric saints, and I felt this tantra sangraha. I have studied very deeply, and if you want, I can teach you that. As Advaita is asking more, what is civilization according to you, and what is modern science? So they reply from Digambara, to speak in such a way, I speak in such a way which is more civilized, where you Vaishnavas are uncivilized, because large portion of the society they don't want to listen to you, and that's the truth. Bulk of the society is quite ignorant of spirituality, so we speak something that is liked by the majority of the people, so we are more civilized, quote unquote, because we are being accepted by the society, and we wear clothings, attractive clothings that is also liked by the society. Look at you, what you wear. You are wearing this loin cloth. You are being shunned by the average citizens in the society. In this kind of loin cloth, you cannot move around it. And look at what you eat. You can eat so and so things. Most of the things you avoid eating that, and that is most of the society. If you go to parties, if you cannot eat this, that, you have so many regulations. Most parties don't even fit in there. Digambari is saying that. And this is all true. So how is that? So answer is, unlike you who do not associate social, because you shun the company of the people of us. And that's true. Vaishnavas avoid the asat sangha, these materialistic people, worldly minded people. And here it takes pride of worldly minded things, Question 11. Does this kind of civilization makes one's next life auspicious? So he has to admit now, Digambar, no, not really. However, if there is no civilization, how will the society will become uplifted? Okay. So our first concern, our priority is to make the society itself, the civilization that way. And then we worry about later. When it is uplifted, then people may try to improve the next life. First, we want to make sure this life is very luxurious, very happy. Everything should be available and make happy. If we are happy now, then we worry about the next life. If we are unhappy here, what to speak of next life? He is arguing all from material point of view. Okay. All right. Let's take a break. This is a complex philosophy. Okay. Hare Krishna. Okay. 15 seconds, 10 seconds. Okay. So now we'll see part 2 of this debate. So part 1, what did we see? Advaita Das Babaji very patiently hearing what this Digambar Prabhu had to say. From a materialistic point, he was arguing about all this thing, okay? And whatever all these things is true from material standpoint. But Babaji, Advaita Das Babaji, is far, far advanced spiritually. So he could see clearly the shallowness of his understanding. So now this is part 2. Now it's now the turn. So far, Advaita Das was asking and Digambar was replying, right? Now the roles are reversed. So again, this is a complex slide. So I'm going to zoom it in 2 parts. So here, now I forgot giving question numbers. So many, I mean, I was become so tired. The whole night, last night, I did not sleep at all, I started working after I conducted lesson 13. And for lesson 15 that we are going to do tomorrow, that also I have to do now after I rest. So since I did not sleep last night, I have to sleep at least 3-4 hours in order to work for lesson 15 tomorrow. So Digambar, these are very, very difficult lessons to prepare, and even more difficult to prepare PowerPoints. And it's going to be difficult for whoever is going to recap. Digambar, have you forgotten the? So please, Sharat Prabhuji, give it to someone who can do it. Okay. Nitya Saki Mataji is very expert. So is Samanta Mataji. Have you forgotten the very civilized society of the Muslim emperor? So when previously Advaita criticized, what, right? We saw that you call so-called civilization, all these things, modern civilization, modern science. And now he's criticizing that you blaspheme the civilization. Have you forgotten the very civilized society of the Mohammedan emperors? Because you are part of that before you become Vaishnava. So now that's replying. That's only material politeness. What you see in Mohammedan culture and all these things, what you see, it was just on the surface that politeness was there. True civilization is when one men are free from sins. You guys are committing sins, eating meat and all these kind of things, violence, killing, and so on like that, forcefully converting Hindus. So Digambar is saying, then why don't you accept modern civilization? They who do not accept modern civilization are not really human. The civilization is meant for human society, and you blaspheme, you criticize, then indirectly saying that you are not qualified to be a human. What's wrong with clothing that makes women attractive? We want our women attractive, that's how the procreation work. And they become appealing to us men, What's wrong with that? This mini skirt and all this thing coming up. Now people realize the shortcomings of that negate that argument. Rapes are happening because of that. Young girls not wearing decent clothing, and how these teenagers become excited, and the rape purpose for date rape and things like that. All this that we hear nowadays is the evil of this society, so-called modern civilization, so-called the fashion and things like that. So Advaita is politely replying, Will a wise man be happy in such civilization? You ask some wise people who are intelligent, they will tell you the evils of this modern civilization. But then the other end of the spectrum, which is not required, which should not be there, one should respect women, honor. They are the power behind every man. And this, look what Taliban is doing, completely destroying the culture when they do not allow education for the women. So that is the other end of the spectrum. So Digambar is asking now, as people become more and more educated, they will become more civilized, leading to a heavenly world. So that's his argument. Education is required. But they are denying their education in Taliban to women. Anyone who believes those stories, Advaita is replying now, anyone who believes these stories is in blind faith. There are two kinds of knowledge. One, that's spiritual knowledge, that is fast collapsing in this modern civilization, and the material knowledge that keeps increasing. Then becomes attracted to material things, and as this is a typo there, and has contempt for the spiritual truth. You are neglecting spirituality, spiritual truth. This kind of knowledge brings misfortune to the soul. Soul is hungry for spiritual knowledge. It's your body that wants material things. Now he's correcting him. So Digambar is saying, why misfortune? Is society not important? Isn't society important or not? So the two-part answer. Such a short human lifespan we have here, that should be utilized in gaining spiritual realization, self-realization. Very soon, we all die. We have in Kali Yuga, a very limited lifespan. Then what will happen? Translocation of the soul in different species of life. You keep moving, repeated birth, repeated death, repeated suffering. Rat race will begin again. You will not get out. You are tightly anchored. And that's exactly what Maya wants. Anchored on the ground of material world. So that is not intelligence. So such a short lifespan should be utilized to gain spiritual perfection. Material knowledge should be accepted only whatever that is barely needed. Keep the body and soul. Yes, material knowledge is required. We make use of this computer technology, right? IT technology, everything. But we are utilizing it. We are not discarding that, but we utilize it for service of Krishna. Only that point, but we don't get attached to it. Such a short lifespan because of that. Material knowledge should be accepted only to its bare needed. Okay? Different kinds of society bring different results. Vaishnava association brings good result, whereas association with materialistic people, it's a downhill. It's not good for the soul. It may be good for your body, physical body, but not for the soul. Soul is hungry to develop relationship with the Supreme Lord. The soul is part and parcel of Krishna. The other part of it. Again, going from bottom. So Digambar is asking, our Tantra scripture states that my mother is beyond her three modes. Although she manifests three modes, she herself is not under the influence of the three modes. Again, that's also not true. What happened when Lord Ramachandra was wandering in the forest, when Sita Mataji was kidnapped by Ravana, and Lord Ramachandra was looking for her everywhere, crying like an ordinary human being, right? At that time, Mother Parvati and Lord Shiva was going around. So Lord Shiva, of course, kept quiet. But Mother Parvati began to wonder what happened. Do you call this is your Ishtadev? Lord Shiva's Ishtadev is, of course, Lord Ramachandra, So saying, is your Ishtadev, what kind of Supreme Brahman he is? He is crying, missing his wife like an ordinary person. So she herself came into that Maya. Being Maya herself came. That's one example I'm giving you. There's several examples. But here, according to Devi Bhagavad, they said their mother, this Maya Devi is the one controls 3 modes of materialism, and she's not coming under the influence. But I give you one straight example. And Lord Shiva had to renounce, actually it was not Parvati. So then Uma Devi had to reborn as Parvati later on. So Tantra scripture states that my mother is beyond her 3 modes, although manifested by her. Your description of Lord Vishnu's Maya potency is not beyond the modes. Then how can both be same? A logical question because of his poor understanding. So now Advaita Das is correcting him. The word potency does not mean a substance, rather the quality that a substance possesses. Very subtle point to understand, okay? The potence itself, Shakti, that's not substance. Shakti is subservient to the substance that the Supreme Lord. Maya is subservient to Lord. It's Lord's controls of potency. The potency cannot exist from its substance. The only true substance is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The potency that manifests the 3 modes is the material potency. She creates and destroys the material universes, but she belongs to Lord Vishnu and remains under his control. Later he quotes a scripture verse where Lord Srimati Radharani says that I am your internal potency, but my expansion is Mahamaya potency. Okay, Digambar is asking, what is the Lord's illusory potency then? Explain to me. Why is the goddess I know is Mother Nishtarini? So the answer is, she is actually your mother, what you call that is, she is the Lord Vishnu's Maya potency. So why do people have different desires? Desires are created by the past karmas. When we have particular karma and that the desire becomes unfulfilled in this life, so we have to come back, try to enjoy and carry out, fulfill those unfulfilled desires. So we get a particular kind of body. Body is made of these 3 components, Sattva Guna, Rajoguna, Tamoguna. So we get exactly with that kind of body to enjoy, to try again. But when you get a new life, you create new desires. So it's a perpetual cycle, repeated death, birth, repeated death, and so on like that. So desires are created by past karma. Materialistic men work in different ways, and what they produce may be helpful to the Vaishnavas. You guys invent this technology, but we Vaishnavas make use of that technology to serve the Supreme Lord. We don't use it for our own enjoyment and things like that. So we offer this service to the Supreme Lord. The materialistics in that way is serving. Who do not understand this, you guys do not understand that thing, and become bewildered by Lord's illusory potency. So what is that material science? Question now. Now Advaita does. So many kinds, whatever knowledge, skills, beauty, and presence, the material are all described in the material science. So he is giving the astronomy, medical science, physical science, all this thing, engineering, electronics, all this thing is listing that. Okay. So these are all part of the material science. Material world with this variety is manifested by this mother. Our mother manifests that thing and controls it. When a person understands this, she frees him from sin and becomes liberated. So that's what he thinks. But in reality, it's not like that. You pay for your own karma. Maya Devi doesn't protect you from there. Okay, now the third part and the final part. Again, I'm going to break it into two parts. So now I'm not giving question numbers. So now Digambar is continuing asking question. Are you or are you not under the power of this potency that you're talking about? Okay. Are you not, you yourself become bewildered and things like that? So Advaita Das as a devotee says, yes, we are. Who are Jiva Shakti? We are the Jiva Shakti and the individual souls. When we become free from Maya, then we are under the power of spiritual potency. And that is what we are trying to serve the Lord in this bhakti process, to transform from this material to spiritual potency. That's what we are doing. Digambar says, then aren't you also a Shakta in that regard? A Devi Upasaka? Because you are saying that in the beginning is under the control of Maya, but then you're transforming it to the spiritual potency, So you are also indirectly, you are a worshipper of Devi. So very intelligent answer is giving Advaita Das. Yes, the Vaishnavas are naturally Shaktas in that regard, as servants of Sri Radha. And Sri Radha's expansion is Mahamaya. And Yogamaya is her internal, right? Radha is like is internal potency, but her expansion is external potency, Mahamaya. So there's a Mahamaya and there is a Yogamaya. Under her power, we worship Lord Krishna. In that sense, there is no difference between the Shaktas and the Vaishnavas, if you really think about it, okay? Because we worship the potency, but we worship the potency that is spiritual potency, not the Mahamaya potency. But the Maya Shaktas are not necessarily the Vaishnavas, because they do not take shelter of the spiritual potency. They take shelter of Mahamaya potency. Goddess Durga herself says, "O Krishna, I am Radha, who stays on your chest during the Rasa dance in Vrindavan forest." And that is Naradiya Tantra, that is a Panchatantra. So Digambar is saying, as people become more educated today, they will eventually become more civilized, leading to a heavenly world. And then Advaita Das responding to that. Anyone who believes these stories is in blind faith. You really don't mean that. There are two kinds of knowledge: spiritual knowledge, which is fast collapsing, and material knowledge that is increasing. Then they become, so I'm going top to bottom, I should have gone that, okay? So why misfortune? Is society not important? Such a short human lifespan should be utilized to get spiritual perfection. I'll see that, we have seen that. This portion now. So do you have the glory of, so now changing the subject, Digambar is asking, do you know the glory of Bhagavad Gita? What does it teach? So of course, yes, I have studied it, And why is he asking that? Because now he's bringing attention to Devi Bhagavata. Okay. So Devi Bhagavata and Devi Gita are honored by everyone. You Vaishnava alone have not really heard of them. So Advaita is replying, you admit yourself that you have not read Devi Bhagavata. Because he asked him, did you yourself read Devi Bhagavata? And he said, no, I'm not, because I'm too busy. I couldn't read. But I know what it is actually. Am I the fanatics? Or you are the fanatics? Because you are accusing me. Advaita is saying that you are accusing me that I'm fanatic. But who really is fanatic? You are saying about the glorification of Devi Bhagavad, but you yourself have not studied it. How can you tell that? So there is no pure religion but Vaishnava religion. You have been holding grudge against Vaishnavas for a long, long time. That is why you fail to see the auspicious path for your own good. Digma says, yes, the Tantra Sangraha I compiled after years and years of study. You Vaishnavas blaspheme modern civilization, modern science, you shun. Okay? What can I do to convince you otherwise? So Baba is saying, when you die, you will know yourself how much benefit this modern science is giving you. You are taking adhogati, downhill, blindly going through this modern science, modern civilization that's leading in the wrong direction. Adhogati, downward, repeated birth and repeated death. You'll not become free, So Digambar is arguing, is there anything after death? Try to enjoy the most while you can live. Because once the death is there, they believe like this. Everything is gone. Everything is dark. So enjoy the most while you can. That is their philosophy. Who cares about the next world? Who cares about the death? At death, this material body dies and all Pancha Mahabhuta is become submerged in the environmental Panchaphuta, because the environment is also made of this Pancha Mahabhuta, and that's the end of life, So they don't accept rebirth and all kind of things. What is the use of believing in this person God that you're talking about? Serve the potency. Forget about the personality of Godhead. In her, you will rest forever. My mother will take care of you. So that's finally giving up, You are too attached to the material potency. You're a hopeless case. Silently saying that if an all-knowing personal God exists, what will be your fate after death? Suppose you assume what I'm saying is right, then what will be your fate after death? You don't want to accept that. Happiness is peace of mind. What you are in search of happiness, but happiness is really the manifestation of the mind, peace of mind. Renouncing material pleasure, I found peace and happiness. I want to detach from material things and attach myself simultaneously to the spirituality. That way, I'm taking care of my next life. If something good exists after death, I will certainly attain it. I will become liberated. I'll go back to the world. And I will, even after liberation, that's not my goal, but I will develop love for Krishna, love for the Supreme Lord. And that is my real happiness, real bliss, real help, real good life, in association with the Lord. Hare Krishna. Hare Bol.
Krishna Prabhuji, Dandat Pranam, Charan Prabhuji. So, so nice. So nice, Prabhuji. No, I'm still remembering the Smarta Brahman, the how gradually, step by step, as you are walking through that. And now this is also, how Devi Bhagavata, or they are talking about how Durga Puja, like I was in the Bengal, I know what you will say, and also everything originating from Devi, we see that slide, Prabhuji, how gradually Vaishnava smashes all that, and his knowledge, the whole knowledge that Vaishnava possesses, really helps, right, Prabhuji? Other people have got, they got.
Now you just mentioned that you are from Bengal. Please correct me. Am I right? In Bengali, Brahmins are allowed to eat fish.
Yeah, Prabhuji, I'm from Maharashtra, but I did my study there, so I know the Bengalis, they eat fish. Without fish and rice, that is there, and all Brahmanas also eat. That is true. And
Okay,
we
all
see
right.
here, you see in USA, I see in Toronto, this all these Bengalis, they eat fish. It is their and this is how they, the Durga Mata or Kali Mata, that's how they go. Whatever you mentioned is there. I have seen, Prabhuji. But
Okay.
see how the Vaishnava, because of his full understanding of everything, how he's able to come up with answers. That is amazing, Prabhuji.
Thank you. Thank you, Prabhuji. Thank you. Any other points, questions?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam.
Rakshama.
So wonderful class Prabhuji.
Not easy. मैं તમને કીધું બહુ ડિફિકલ્ટ લેસન્સ છે. ઓકે, બહુ
Yes
ડિફિકલ્ટ.
Prabhuji, yes Prabhuji. प्रभुजी એટલે જે લોકો शक्ति उपासक, जो शक्ति उपासक है वो शक्ति को मानते हैं मगर शक्तिमान को नहीं मानते, ऐसा हुआ.
You are right, indirectly.
Yeah. So they are not accepting the supreme power, supremacy को वो नहीं मानते हैं, मगर शक्ति को ही मानते हैं.
Because Devi gives all material comforts, that's what they're after. But Devi is doing that. She is the devotee of the Lord. She's screening. Unless you are ready for Krishna, then you keep coming back here,
Yes, Prabhuji.
So
So nowadays most of the people are like
thankless job. Thankless job.
Yes, Prabhuji.
Yeah, go ahead.
But nowadays all are living like this only because they want to enjoy life. किसने देखा है कल, किसने देखा है आज जी लो, कल मर गए तो मर गए.
You are right. Exactly what they are saying. कल किसने देखा है? Enjoy while you can. My friend who is the Devi Upasaka, and I've known him for last 20 years, and he keeps all the time he's arguing with me about this.
Prabhuji, my wonderful point is that we are also Shakti Upasak, but internal potency of Lord. So it is very nice point, Prabhuji.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you.
Dandavat Pranam, Prabhuji. Thank you so
Any
much.
other points? Any other points? Ben ji, आप कुछ कहना चाहेंगे?
Very interesting chapter, Bhaiji. But just a little complicated.
Difficult to understand,
yes.
Right?
Yes, yes. See, I understand, but some difficult, little difficult.
Yeah. Okay, all right. Sharat Prabhuji, let me give you the time. You wanted more time yesterday. I couldn't give you.
Prabhuji, I have one question from yesterday.
Okay, all right. Okay, go ahead.
Okay. So, because so yesterday it came up there, the pious activities, like, pious deeds give the association with the devotee. Is that the meaning of that? Like Sangha?
Actually, piety, it's not really material piety. It's a spiritual piety, Somehow that, see, like the devotees have this Rath Yatra going on, right? So Rath Yatra goes in the main streets of a big cities, right? And the millions of people, they see they are not devotees, but getting the darshan is an agyata sakriti that becomes then, So that's some piety there is beyond material piety, But somehow you do good things. You help a devotee to run a temple like that. They themselves are not devotee, but they are supporting devotees. So that kind of piety I'm talking about. That leads you to sadhu sangha. That later sadhu comes, and Krishna himself sends such a sadhu in devotee's life. So we are talking about that kind of piety.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Yeah.
हरे कृष्णा भाई जी, मैं ये सोच रही थी कि मैं अपने को कंपेयर कर रही थी कि मैं कौन सी कैटेगरी में आती हूँ, वेदर कनिष्ठ अधिकारी या इंटरमीडिएट अधिकारी. उत्तम तो अभी बहुत दूर की बात है, वो तो पता नहीं पहुंच पाऊंगी कि नहीं, लेकिन मैं एक्चुअली कनिष्ठ अधिकारी से थोड़ा और इंटरमीडिएट अधिकारी के बीच में अपने आप को मैं फील कर रही थी.
देखिए ना, आप ये क्लास अटेंड कर रही है, आप ये क्लास अटेंड कर रही है, That itself
जी
is a good proof. Remember that the yesterday's class that we were learning about that the devotee Nityananda Das, how they judge the Babajis judged him when he honestly declared himself how he was, but he was continuing on this chanting all the time, associating with the devotees and so on like that. So that is the point indicative of that you are now uh, progressing from Kanishta to medium class devotees,
yes
and there is
yes
again, it's a gradation, and it's not a there is not a fine point division. Okay, there is a
जी
progression even in intermediate devotee, just beginning, middle, and progressing more and more. Let's going on, keep on going.
जी मैंने पूरा पूरा जो ये अभी तक जयदेव धर्मा पढ़ा है कि माधुर्य का जमने भी ये जो सुना है ये भी
हाँ जी,
सारा
हाँ जी,
उसके पूरा जो मीन जो सारांश जो निकलता है वो यही है कि वी शुड डू मोर एंड मोर चांटिंग if we do
yeah,
more and more chanting automatically we become pure and we do अच्छे काम करने का मतलब
yeah,
अंदर से जो डिजायर होती है जो एक तरह से रिनाउंसिएशन आता है उसको करने से ना जो
yes,
डिजायर है टुवर्ड्स मटेरियल थिंग्स वो थोड़ा कम होती हैं बिल्कुल
yes. अभी
लेकिन
कल का लेक्चर में सुन रहे थे ना लोग कि असत्संग
जी
and satsanga, they both are competing each other. So more and
यस
if we
यस
do, that is what happen, and chanting करने से जो हमें जो रोकते हैं हमें भक्ति आने के लिए, ये रजोगुण तमोगुण,
जी
जो दिस इज द थिंग दिस
जी
आर इम्पेडिमेंट्स ऑन आवर पाथ, चैंटिंग करने से भगवान खुद हमारे हृदय को साफ करते हैं, और ये
जी
लोअर मोड के जो इन्फ्लुएंस है वो कम करते जा रहे हैं, इन सत्व गुण की बढ़ाई होती है, और जितना सत्व गुण बढ़ते जाता है देन
जी
सत्वम यद ब्रह्म दर्शनम सत्वम संजायते ज्ञानम, तो
जी
automatically become receptive then, that's how we make progress. And
जी
chanting is one aspect, very important aspect, but hearing Krishna's pastimes, this holy past, all these things, there is also equivalent. This is all part of that Navada Bhakti.
यस यस यस
Hare Krishna.
थैंक यू भाई जी हरे कृष्णा
Sharat
Hare
Prabhuji.
Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Thank you very much. We were talking of Goddess Kali in Calcutta. I happened to stay 2 years in Calcutta during my army service. There are actually two famous Kali temples in Calcutta. One is in the Kali Ghat and one is in the Dakshineswar. Dakshineswar, that is famous for
रामकृष्ण परमहंस
yes, Ramakrishna Paramahamsa. And in both these, the animal sacrifices, they are going on even today. So that is what is the reality. So then we were talking of the Devi Dharma and all that. Now, if you remember, there is a verse in the Brahma Samhita also. It says, Golaka Namni Nijadhamni Tale Chatasya Devi Mahesha Haridhamesu Tesu Tesu Tete Prabhavaya Nichaya Vyatas Chayena Govindam Adi Purusam Tamaham Bhajami. What is being said that below the planet named Goloka Vrindavana, Golokdhama, there are the planets known as Devi Dhama. Devi Dhama is this material world only. Where Devi, the Durga Devi or Maya Devi, she presides over this the place. That's why she is so prominent. Then Mahesh Dhama, that is of Lord Shiva, and Haridhama, all these are there below Golok Vrindavana. Then I wanted to say something regarding accepting sannyasa without purification of the heart, which we discussed yesterday. If you remember in Bhagavad Gita, there is a verse in the 3rd chapter which says, Na karmanam anarambham, naiskarmyam purusos asnute, nacha sannyasad iva siddhim samadhim gacchati. Saying that not merely by abstaining from work can one achieve freedom from reaction, nor by renunciation alone can one attain perfection. And this is not the way. The renounced order of life can be accepted when one is totally purified by what? By discharge of the prescribed form of duties which are laid down just to purify the heart of what the materialistic tendencies. Now, without purification, one cannot attain success by abruptly adopting the fourth order, that is the sannyasa order. And according to many philosophers, simply by adopting sannyasa or retiring from karma or the fruitive activities, one at once becomes as good as Narayana. But Lord Krishna does not approve this principle, what it is saying in the third chapter of Srimad Bhagavad Gita. Because without purification of the heart, sannyasa is simply a disturbance in the society, in the social order. And on the other hand, if someone takes to the transcendental loving service of the Supreme Lord, even without discharging the prescribed duties, whatever he may be able to do, he will advance rightly, correctly, and this is accepted by the Lord. And in Bhagavad Gita, it is described as Buddhi Yoga. Swalpam api asya dharmasya trayate motam vaya. Even a slight performance of a principle enables one to overcome great difficulties. Now, those who have been trained for abstinence in material pleasures, they are called dhira. Now, or the persons who are undisturbed by their senses. Now, only these people can accept the order of sannyasa, and they can gradually rise to the status of paramahansa, which is respected by everybody in the society. Now, even Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he taught these things in, they are given in the Chaitanya Charitamrita. He said that one who always keeps the name of the Supreme Lord on his tongue becomes greater than an initiated Brahmana. And although he may be born in a family of dog eaters, therefore by material calculation may be the lowest among the men, still he is most glorious. He is better than anybody else. And it is therefore concluded that one who chants the holy name of the Lord should be understood to have performed all kinds of austerities, all kinds of sacrifices mentioned in the Vedas, because by doing this, he achieves the highest goal. Therefore, such a person should be eligible to take to sannyasa and not otherwise. Those who take up sannyasa, like we heard the example here in Jaiva Dharma, and because of that, this discussion is going on. Now, unless one is spiritually advanced, he cannot take up this path of sannyasa. We sometimes use the word Aryan. The non-Aryans are those who are not spiritually advanced. And by following the Vedic culture, by performing great sacrifices, and by becoming strict follower of the Vedic instructions, one may become a Brahmana, sannyasi, or an Aryan. It is not possible to become a Brahmana, sannyasi, or Aryan without being properly qualified. Therefore, this qualification is very, very important. And we have been taught in Srimad Bhagavatam that Bhagavad Dharma never allows one to become a chief Brahmana or sannyasi, and the qualities or qualifications described, they are given in Srimad Bhagavatam in the third canto, where Devahuti Mata is listening to Kapil Deva, who says that this has to be understood. And when Devahuti totally understood this, she praised the devotee, pointing out the devotee's greatness in all respects. Then also Srimad Bhagavatam, we know that Maharaj Yadu was very eager to engage himself in the Lord's service, but there was an impediment during the youth and the material desire to enjoy the material senses was certainly present, and that's why what he did, that we study in the Srimad Bhagavatam. Therefore, unless one fully satisfies the lusty desires in youth, there is a chance of one's being disturbed in rendering service to the Supreme Lord. Therefore, we also have examples of many sannyasis who, when they accept sannyasa prematurely, before they have satisfied their material desires, they fall down because they are disturbed. Therefore, the general process is to go through Grihastha life, then Vanaprastha life, and finally come to sannyasa and devote oneself to the service of the Lord. But there is another system also from brahmachari. One can become a sannyasi directly, but the grihastha, he cannot become a sannyasi directly from grihastha life. He has to go through vanaprastha life, and out of the 4 ashramas, the most difficult is the vanaprastha. Therefore, this has to be understood, and this should be taught to everybody. Here, as it has been amply proved in this class yesterday also, and otherwise also, one should not jump unnecessarily or prematurely to a next ashrama, because that is not authorized, not allowed in our Vedic system, because that creates disturbance in the society. This has to be understood, and in Kali Yuga, you will find there are very many people, there are large number of people who just make a show of being a sannyasi by changing the garment only, and without changing their heart. They have got all the lusty desires in their mind, and they get into problem. It is because of that. Whereas those who have gone through the proper process and they have accepted sannyasa, there is no problem for them. People accept them, and they also lead a very peaceful life, and they also help others. This is all, Prabhuji. The time is almost up. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Sharat Prabhuji. Thank you so much. Very nice points you made. So since we are up, time is already up. I'm going to request if Sagar Prabhu is here, we
Yes,
can
Prabhuji.
conclude the class. Sagar Prabhu, please.
Okay. Hare Krishna Prabhuji, please accept
Hare
my
Bol.
humble appreciation. All go to Srila Prabhupada. Namaste Narasimhai. Namaste Narasimhai. Prahlad Dahine. Prahlad Dahine. Hiranyakasi Purvachar. Hiranyakasi Purvachar. Kilatankar Nathale. Kilatankar Nathale. Ito Narsimha, Parato Narsimha. Ito Narsimha, Parato Narsimha. Ite Yami, Ito Narsimha. Ite Yami, Ito Narsimha. My Narsimha, Hriday Narsimha. My Narsimha, Hriday Narsimha. नरसिंहमदिं शरणं प्रपादे नरसिंहमदिं शरणं प्रपादे तव कलकमलभरे नखाद्भुतसिंहं दलिता हिरण्यकशिपूर्तनुभृङ्गम् केशवधीता नरहरिरूपा जय जगदीश हरे जय जगदीश हरे जय जगदीश हरे कमलभरे नखाद्भुतसिंहं दलिता हिरण्यकशिपूर्तनुभृङ्गम् केशवधीता नरहरिरूपा जय जगदीश हरे जय जगदीश हरे जय जगदीश हरे। नरसिंहदेव भगवान की जय, भक्त प्रहलाद महाराज की जय, सप्रपात की जय, चारु प्रभु की जय, शरद प्रभु की जय, गुरुदेव की जय, ऑल assembled devotee की जय। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्ण चारु प्रभु, दंडवत प्रणाम।
Wonderful. Thank you. Danvat Pranam Prabhuji. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. All glories to Srila Prabhupada, all glories to the Srimad Bhagavatam, all glories to the 6 Goswamis of Vrindavan, all glories to all the Vaishnavas, Hare Krishna. So tomorrow we will try to do lesson 15, and then following weekend we will do 16. And lesson 18, Sharad Prabhuji will be beginning. So 18 onwards. Okay, so that will be a transition, the second part of Jaiva Dharma, that is Sambandha Jnana, Dashamula Tattva, that he is going to, and those are very, very important lessons. Please be prepared and do attend. You will learn a lot. Hare Krishna. Hare Bol.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you very much.
Krishna Prabhu, Dhanavad Pranam.
Sharad Prabhuji,
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna to all devotees.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna. Dandavat Pranam.
Thank you, Mataji. Thank you, Sharad Prabhuji.
Thank you.
Nitya Shakhi
Prabhuji.
Mataji. Thank you. Hare Bol.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna. It was really wonderful.
Superb, John Mataji, you did that. Superb job.
No, Prabhuji, your
Krishna,
blessing.
thank you, Prabhuji. Wonderful class and great bhajan.